Hi everyone, George here from the GFS Gallery. Welcome to a new video all about my pet Betta fishes tank. His name's Nimrod. The aquascape's looking really good. There's a few minor issues which we need to address, which we'll do together. We'll do a full maintenance session and I'll show you exactly what I do and why I do it. If you do enjoy the video guys, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what would you like to see from this aquascape. Just let it evolve naturally and gradually, or should we do some changes, change some plants, etc. Just let me know down in the comments. I really appreciate your comments. I read them all and I try to reply to as many of you as possible. So the first thing we need to address is the fact we've run out of CO2. So I'm using the Tropica CO2 Nano system, which is a 95 gram pressurized disposable cylinder. This lasts me about 4 or 5 weeks and it needs changing obviously once it's empty. If you didn't know, if your aquarium plants are used to CO2 injection and then suddenly there is no CO2 injection, the plant can suffer, and a suffering plant tends to lead to algae issues. So we must hopefully ensure that we never run out of CO2. If we do, we need to get it remedied ASAP. So here we have the Tropica CO2 Nano system. I've actually changed over the supply diffuser to the Aquarium Neo diffuser. I just find this a little bit more discreet and it produces the best CO2 microbubbles from any in-tank diffuser I've seen so far. The system itself is really straightforward. It has the 95 gram disposable bottle here. It has a stand here which you can either hook on the side of the aquarium or stand up. And then to change the CO2 cylinder, simply unscrew, make sure it is empty, there's a gauge there. If you try to unscrew it when it isn't empty, you'll know about it and you'll have high pressure gas coming out, which is very dangerous. What I like to do then is definitely close off, make sure the valve is completely closed. Get our brand new bottle here and then carefully screw on. Make sure you don't cross thread. So make sure it goes on properly and then screw on with purpose. Make sure it goes on properly and then you might hear a tiny piercing noise and it should self-seal, and then you'll see the gauge there with almost 1000 psi indicating it's full and it's ready to use. We simply adjust the rate of the CO2 coming out of the cylinder with the regulator here, and then we can eyeball the CO2 bubbles coming out of here and we can adjust it as appropriate. I'll leave a link to my how to test for CO2 in the iCard above there and also in the description. And that's basically it guys, a very simple, straightforward way to get pressurized CO2 injection into your planted tank. It's not the cheapest and most economical way perhaps to get CO2 injection, especially for larger aquariums, because these are disposable and last me a few weeks at a time. More economical would be to get a refillable cylinder, perhaps a 500 gram, 1 kilo, 2 kilo, 3 kilo, and then you can get that bottle refilled. But I like the nano systems. They're very easy to use. They're great for beginners that don't want to outlay a lot of money to start with. Get them just introduced to CO2 systems, especially in nano aquariums. So they're an ideal CO2 solution for many people. Now we have the CO2 diffuser. It needs cleaning, so I have half bleach, thin bleach, which is the very cheap bleach you can buy from your supermarket, and then half water, just hot tap water, and then I allow positive pressure on the diffuser, so there's actually CO2 microbubbles coming out of the diffuser, as you can see, and that what this does, it ensures that no bleach can get into the diffuser and potentially contaminate your aquarium. So I'll just leave this for 10-15 minutes while I do the other maintenance on the aquarium, and then we're ready to fit that after rinsing it off with plenty of fresh tap water. Next stage is to clean our glassware there. You can see covered in green algae, and also the hoses, as you can see, it's supposed to be clear. They need a good clean. Switch off the filter and the heater. This is the Awaze Filto Smart 100 Thermo, which has a built-in heater, which is great. Just place a bucket underneath the aquarium area, hopefully so we don't get any leaking. Unhook our glassware. Next we remove our glassware from the hose. So top tip, rather than trying to pull it off, push, it will break the seal. You can twist and then pull off quite easily. Put that very gently in the sink there. Keep the hoses separate and do the same with the inlet. Now what I like to do is just put very hot water, fill it up so it covers the glass. While that's filling, we can just pour a little bit of thin bleach in. Careful not to splash it on your clothes or get it on your hands. This costs, it's 5 litres, this costs 90 pence from my local supermarket. 5 litres is about 1.2 US gallons. And then we can just let that soak for a while we carry on with the other maintenance. Now I like to siphon some of the water away so we can easily maintain the tank without spilling any over the sides. Being careful not to suck Nimrod up, obviously. Now using a combination of our Denale Cleanator, credit card and toothbrush, we can quite easily clean all of the glass. All the equipment's been removed. First of all, I'm going to remove a load of the floating plants, Salvinia auriculata, so we can get into the aquarium without the floating plants disturbing us. And I'll replace some of these when we're finished. So some of you may have seen the original maintenance video on this before we rescaped it. So a lot of this you'll know already, a lot of these techniques, but it's always worth refreshing and always worth reminding you guys that preventative maintenance is better than corrective maintenance. Now there is a level of corrective maintenance going on here because I would suspect we run out of CO2. So we do have some algae to deal with. It's not too bad though, and it should be fairly easily remedied. And there's a couple of new plant species I want to talk about too, which I've never used before, so really excited to share these with you guys. The Denale Cleanators are really good at removing this hard water deposits, which is a result of the water evaporating and leaving it behind on the glass. I do live in a hard water area, so this is one of the disadvantages to having an open top tank. We do experience, evaporation. Now there is always the risk that our fish can jump out as well of an open top tank. This is another disadvantage to open top aquariums, but hopefully this is negated by the floating plants. This is why, one of the reasons I like to use floating plants. Another reason is they help to prevent algae. They use loads of nutrients, they help shade the plants underneath, and they're therefore really good at helping to prevent algae, although in this case we do have some algae, which I'll show you in a moment. So being careful not to stress out Nimrod too much, although I do think he enjoys the human interaction. In fact, I do think he recognises me as his main carer. I'm the one that tends to feed him. I wanted to show you guys some of the algae. So there's some staghorn algae, which I'm just going to see if I can show you with my tweezers. So just here, and then we've got some really unhealthy plant here, just to the right, another leaf here, and this is called green spot algae for obvious reasons. So you can see that green algae at the bottom, and then if I just focus on the leaf behind, here you've got a real classic case of green spot algae. Now there's anecdotal evidence that suggests this is caused by low phosphates or low phosphorus levels. So I could try adding more phosphate by a specialist liquid fertiliser, or I could just start adding more fertilisers in general, which is the Tropica Specialised. So I think I'll just double dose my Tropica Specialised from 1 pump to 2 and see how we go, and see if that cures the green spot algae. What I'm going to do right now is just remove the worst affected leaves just by trimming off, and then what the trimming does, it hopefully encourages new growth which will be healthier, especially if we've addressed the nutrient issue. I largely think it's more caused by CO2. So the combination of better CO2 levels once we've installed our diffuser and a fresh cylinder, and the extra nutrients from the liquid fertiliser, this will hopefully prevent the algae from getting worse, promote really healthy new growth, which is the best defence against future algae. Here you can see a really badly affected leaf here from the Cryptocoryne, the green spot algae. So I've just snipped that off with some sharp scissors. That's going to help promote new growth, and hopefully, like I said, after addressing the CO2 and the nutrient issues, we shouldn't hopefully get any more green spot algae. Final step of the in-tank maintenance is just clear the rocks a bit of a clean. A little bit of algae covering looks natural, so we're not after a completely sterile look, just avoiding excess build-up. Same with the wood. The wood is quite loose in here, so I'm careful not to disturb it too much. I love the way Nimrod just is really carefree and quite happy for me to have my hands in here, which is a great part of maintenance. interacting with your fish. Bit of staghorn algae there, get rid of that. Just spotted a really unhealthy leaf there, so I'll just nip that off. So when we're doing this process, we're dislodging a load of waste organics into the water column. Now it's really important that the last thing we do in the maintenance process is this big water change. I often talk about, in fact I always talk about this during my maintenance practice, and I think it's one of the most important tips that you can take away from this video, is the importance of water changes and the way that they dilute waste organics, which are one of the biggest triggers of algae. So if we did all this maintenance and then didn't do any water change at all, I can guarantee you the algae would be so much worse in a few days' time. Huge water changes are often frowned upon amongst fish keepers. There's the myth that the water contains lots of beneficial bacteria, but the vast majority of the bacteria is held either in the filter or the substrate. So water changes are only a good thing in this sort of planted aquarium. The fish love it, the plants love it, and it might make your tank a bit more high maintenance, but you're rewarded with cleaner water, healthier plants, healthier fish and less algae. So in my opinion, always better to do more water changes than less. Time to clean our glassware. I have rubber gloves. This is quite a lot of bleach in here, which obviously we don't want to get in contact with our skin. Now I do have a beautiful hose brush here, if you can see that, guys. This was kindly given to me as a gift by Adam Pascella during my recent visit to Poland. Real simple, get a hose brush, probably do it underwater, and then because it's been soaking in a hot bleach solution, it should super easy to clean. There we have one clean inlet. Now the same process with the outlet. So these spin outlets are really great for aquariums where you don't want much surface movement or much turbulence, which is perfect for bettas. Bettas don't like high velocities of water, so this helps with that. The water comes out of here, hits this wall here, and then the water is distributed this way. I bought these from Amazon. A few people have asked to supply the link for it. I do think they've sold out, but I will put the link in the description. So that's our glassware clean. Now we can clean our hoses. So we'll take our water out. Now I'll give glass a really good rinse. Give the gloves a good soak as well. Time to clean our hoses now. I don't use bleach for these. Hot water, all that gunk should come out quite easily. Do the same on the other side. There's one clean hose, same with the other one. Bit of Prime, Seachem Prime. This is a really good dechlorinator. Put our clean glassware in there. Also our CO2 diffuser that we had in bleach before. It's still running a positive pressure, so there's definitely no ingress of bleach anyway, but just in case. And now our equipment, our clean diffuser, our new CO2 cylinder, our glassware and our clean hoses are all ready to fit to Nimrod's tank. How exciting! There we have it, guys. Nimrod's tank has been maintained. We've replaced the CO2 cylinder with a new one, and we've hopefully helped to address those algae issues. Not severe algae issues by any means, but something that needs to be addressed, otherwise things like this can get out of hand and soon swamp the aquarium. So next step is to just add our floating plants, which I'll do later on. I'll get some nice B-roll footage for you at the end for you to enjoy. And I just want to talk about a couple of the plants in there. Now, thanks for watching all the way through to this point. You might have been wondering, oh, what are those new plants? Well, the one right in the centre there, which is purling, which means producing so much oxygen that it has to produce these bubbles, is called Hydrocotyl tripartita mini, which is an ADA plant, which I got from Aquarium Gardens. And in the background is Blixia albertii. So this is a relatively rare plant in the UK anyway, and I was kindly given a small portion from the Tropica laboratory when I visited there last month. I think it's great, it's looking great. Nimrod's happy, that's the main thing. Hopefully the algae issues won't get any worse. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments, what would you like to see in the aquascape? More plants, less plants, change your species, or should we just let it evolve and see how it turns out in the longer term? So you take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio.